Hello everyone! In this video we'll explore the best no-code stack you can use for development of your web application, whether it's a SaaS, AI startup or any other complex project. Often the issue with these no-code tools is that they have a lot of limitations, and it's common belief that you can't build advanced software with them. But there is this one stack that gives you all powers of no-code while enabling you to do highly custom things. It also gives you the ability to add custom code and API integrations if needed. All that together empowers you to create basically whatever you imagine without any design and functionality limits. And the stack is Webflow, Wized and Xano. You might already know that Webflow is an awesome no-code website builder, but it's definitely not a tool that can help you beat SaaS or AI software. But adding Xano and Wized to the equation changes the story. At the end of the video we'll go over a simple demo and you'll see firsthand how these come together. Many don't even know that you can combine no-code tools, but let me explain how Webflow, Wized and Xano work together and why. In order to better understand this stack, we need to go over some basic anatomy of every web application. Every project, whether it's simple website or complex AI-driven SaaS, is split into two main parts: frontend and backend. Frontend is what the user sees and interacts with: the layout, buttons, text, and overall user experience. Traditionally, it's built with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Backend is what powers your app behind the scenes. It handles data storage, logic, user authentication, and integrates with various APIs. This is commonly built with languages like PHP, Python, Node.js, or frameworks like Laravel, Django, Express, etc. Together, frontend and backend form the foundation of your app. If you want to build a new SaaS or AI platform, you'll need a frontend to handle the user-facing side and a backend to handle all the data and business logic. For the front-end part, we use Webflow, which is completely capable of handling this area, and it's the best front-end no-code tool on the market without a doubt. So instead of painstakingly writing lines of HTML and CSS, Webflow lets you visually code. It's not a typical drag-and-drop tool, it's actually a visual interface for coding. It mimics HTML, CSS and JavaScript, allowing you to create a fully custom website without writing code. You can achieve the same level of design flexibility as traditional coding, but without needing to write a single line of code. Besides that, it has a great CMS which gives you the ability to easily publish content to your website. It's also very fast, secure and excellent for SEO. Next up is backend. Here we should use Xano. Traditionally, you'd pick a language like PHP, Python, Node.js, find a framework, host it on a server and manage the database. But with Xano, you can build a robust, scalable backend without diving into complex servers, database setups, and programming. There are some other backend no-code solutions similar to Xano on the market, but they're nowhere near when it comes to no-code flexibility and customization abilities. This tool gives you a database system which lets you design the architecture of database for millions of active users. We can create API endpoints which we connect to the Webflow frontend of the web application. Business logic for the API endpoints is built with no code, but you must know programming concepts as it mimics things like inputs, outputs, conditions, logic, variables, functions, queries, etc. Using drag and drop, you can stack a function to work however you want. If we say that Webflow is a visual coding tool that replaces HTML and CSS, then we can say that Xano is actually a visual programming no-code tool that replaces languages like PHP, Python, Java, stuff like that. And last but not least, in order to connect Webflow and Xano to work together, we need a bridge, and that bridge is Wized. It allows us to add Xano API endpoints to our website's interface and elements. It basically gives us the ability to send data that user inputs in Webflow website to Xano backend. And also it allows us to receive data from the Xano database, read it and present it however you want. Let's go to the demo. So for this demo I prepared this simple registration form. As you can see, this is a Webflow website, and what we can see here is actually a front end. When we type in all the data here, we just click register and then that's going to be sent out to the database. And here we have Xano dashboard. If we go to database and then see here we have a lot of tables, one of which is users table. And here we have already registered few users, and here everything that we type in into this form will go. And those two are connected with Wized. You can see here it's wized.com. And now let me show you how it works. So let's type a first name. Now click register. So it's really basic. It says user registered, but it's good for demo. So we go to database. So we are in the users table. We can refresh, and here you can see that we registered a new user. And let me show you how that works. So if you go to the API, here we have this group that's called auth. We click here, and there is this auth signup API endpoint. So here you can see that this API receives first name, last name, email, and password. So everything is matching here: first name, last name, email, and password. And then here is function stack. Here is the programming part. And here you can stack your function to work however you want. For example, first what we do here is we get all records from users table, and then we check if this user that we are trying to insert exists. And if it doesn't exist, then we are going to insert a new user, and after that we are going to create authentication token. So after registration, that person is automatically logged in. And after the function stack is completed, then we have response, and there we just return the authentication token so we can keep it on the front end in the local storage. Besides all of these functions, we can add new functions. We can click add function, and here you can create variable, do for each loop, create conditions, so that's if this then do this and stuff like that. We can do queries, we can do external API requests. See here we have groups, we have database requests, data manipulation, security, APIs, custom functions, utility functions, file storage. We have basically everything that you would usually have in traditional programming. And you can combine all of this to create a function stack that you want. And let me show you how all of this is actually connected. So as we said, Webflow and Xano are connected with wized. So wized is like a bridge between those two. First thing that we had to do is to create a form actually in Webflow. So here you can see form. If you click plus sign, here you have the elements that you can add to the form and overall HTML elements to add to the website. So we created a basic form here in this case. And then after we created this form, we went to wized and grabbed a piece of code that they gave us, and we put that piece of code here in the website settings. So we go site settings, custom code, and here is that wized code. So this code allows us to connect Webflow and Xano, and also allows us to see the Webflow form and the whole website here inside wized. When we have wized and Webflow connected, then we need to connect wized with Xano. How we do that? We click here, and then here we have my apps. We click this plus sign, and then here you can see that I already added Xano. If we click there, we can add the name. We can select the type. For example, they have some pre-built API and apps to integrate. So Xano is not one of them, so we just select this one, REST. And here we add the base URL. So this URL could be found here. We copy the URL. If I paste in the URL bar, see here we have the URL. We can copy just this is the base URL up until here. We copy this. We go to wized. We add that base URL, and then we go to requests. We need to create a post request, so it means that we want to insert data into database. Here we configure everything. We add the API endpoint, and then here in the body we add the fields: first name, last name, email, password, and stuff like that. And wized knows that these fields are first name, last name, email, and stuff like that. And how does it know? If we click here X-ray, so it says input first name, input last name, input email, input password, and we have form registration. So in order for wized to see all of these field names, we had to go to Webflow website. Let me open the site. So we had to click here to the text field and go to settings. As you can see, I put wized equals input first name, and then here wized equals input last name, email, and password. So that's how wized knows how to read these fields. And then after that request is created, what we do, we need to create an event when this request is going to be triggered. So if we click X-ray, we click form registration, and we click here this lightning icon. So its event submits. So when this form submits, meaning when you click register, then request is going to be performed. So here we have perform request, we choose the request that we created, and then after the request is done, we are just running a function that says user registered. So if you remember, after we type in everything and we click register, then we get this pop-up that says user registered. If we wanted to list all the users here, we would go to wized, then we would go to requests, then we would create a get request, add all the details, and after that create a trigger. For example, when page loads, do the request and fetch all the users from the database. And in the xano we would have a get request that is going to fetch all the users. Let me show you some other functions. If we go to tasks API, so this is some application that we are currently building. See here, so we have comments, so we can get all the comments, we can insert comment, we can delete comment, we can get single comment, and we can update comment, so we can change it. And below, for example, you can get today's task, so this function is going to get all the records from the database and specifically from the tasks table. And here what we are missing two actually we are not missing, we built it. So we built a custom query that is going to take today's date tasks and also tasks for the specific user that is logged in. And then after that query is done, it is going to return all the tasks, and then we can display it on the front end. To summarize everything, so here we have in xano we have a database. We can create all the tables that we want for our web application. In the APIs section of the backend, we can create a logic that is going to process and manage all the data that we have in the database. And then using wized, we can call all those API endpoints and trigger them whenever we want. And on the front end, in the webflow, we can display data, we can create forms to insert data, we can create beautiful designs and stuff like that. And that's it for this video. See you in the next.